Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing that.
The meeting will please come to order. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening, especially members from the public, and those my colleagues, especially those of you that for this is your first time being in council chambers. Councilwoman Darby, Councilman Spadola, and Councilman Field, as well as the rest of my colleagues. It's really good to have you here, and I think this is the biggest crowd we had so far from the public. So I definitely want to thank you all. I want to encourage you to keep coming, and for those of you who feel safer being at home Zooming from the public, we encourage you just to stay engaged. But thank you for those of you who are here with us. And today is Thursday, October 21st, and we will begin with our opening prayer by Akira Granado.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Amen.
Amen. At this time, we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Present.
Councilwoman Darby,
Present.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Present.
Councilwoman Harley,
Present.
Councilwoman Fields, Councilwoman McCoy,
Here.
Councilman Johnson,
Present.
Councilman Field,
Present.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Here.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Present.
Councilman Spadola,
Present.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Here.
President Congo.
Here.
12 present and 1 absent.
Reading of the minutes from the previous meeting.
October 7, 2021, City Council met on virtual regular session, the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Ernest M. Congo II presiding. The opening prayer was done by Kira Granado, Deputy City Clerk. The Pledge of Allegiance was recited by City Council. The following members responded to the call of the roll. Council members Gray, Darby, Oliver, Harley, Fields, McCoy, Johnson, Field, Cabrera, Dixon, Spadola, and President Congo.
I move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the minutes be accepted as written. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports, please.
October 18, 2021, President, members of Council, City of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Public Works and Transportation Committee by virtual meeting with anchor location, to who was referred ordinance number 21048 entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the City Code to eliminate 1, licensing requirements for stationary engineers and firemen, 2, attendant and inspection requirements for power boilers, fire pressure vessels, and installations using nuclear fuel, and 3, the Board of Examining Engineers. Have given this ordinance careful study and recommend
I
council
move
vote
this
on it
committee report
accordingly.
be received and recorded and filed.
Respectfully submitted, one moment. Those members present, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Field, Councilman Spadola, President Congo, absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh, and Councilwoman Brigida Fields.
I move this committee report be received and recorded and filed.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
October 18, 2021, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Public Works and Transportation Committee by virtual meeting with anchor location to whom was referred ordinance number 21049 entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 37 of the City Code to ensure privately owned official traffic control devices are removed within a reasonable time after completion of a construction project. Had given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Field, Councilman Spadola, President Congo. Absent with leave, Councilwoman Walsh and Councilwoman Brigida Fields.
I move this committee report be received and recorded and filed.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. City Treasurer's report.
October 21, 2021. Total investment, $514,442,741.95. Total cash on hand, $12,369,162.08. Grand total, $526,811,904.03. Submitted by Dwayne Sims, City Treasurer.
I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
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 It's been properly moved and second that the Treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll accept the motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to accept all non-legislative business. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. I believe we have two presentations this evening. Council members who have presentations, you may come forward or you may speak from your desk.
Okay, I do have two presentations this evening, Mr. President. And I'm not into the Zoom, so I don't know if my guests are online, but we're going to start with Oyen, Delaware. And this evening, we're recognizing Oyen, Delaware, who has been our Spanish language newspaper for 25 years. They started out in Sussex County. They started with more of the Sussex County news, but now they are statewide, and they do have offices here in Wilmington, Delaware. So we welcome them to our city, where they've been here for a few years now, and for the coverage that they have been providing for all of the community statewide. Whereas it is the sense of City Council to honor organizations that have demonstrated outstanding achievement and are deserving of recognition and acknowledgement. Oyen, Delaware is one such organization. Whereas founded in 1996, Oyen, Delaware is the largest and longest-serving Hispanic publication in the first state, covering Newcastle, Kent, and Sussex counties, in addition to the border towns of Salisbury, Cambridge, Easton, and Merridale, Maryland, also reaching into Pennsylvania's Kennett Square area. And whereas Oyen, Delaware reflects the hopes, aspirations, and challenges facing a community comprised of immigrants from Mexico, Guatemala, Caribe, Central America, and other nations, all living in Delaware Latinos diaspora. Oyen, Delaware doesn't just report on events that may interest the community, but it bridges the gap between the Anglo and Latin communities. It continues to be proactive and informative, keeping the Latino community abreast of health events, changes to immigration laws, access to housing, scholarship opportunities, and ways to improve the financial well-being of our community. And whereas Oyen, Delaware has received many awards, just to name a few, the 2004 Community Service Award by the Latin American Community Center, the LACC, the 2013 Jose Marti Publishing Gold Award for Outstanding Newspaper, Less Than Weekly, by the National Association of Hispanic Publications in Anaheim, California, the 2013 Certificate of Appreciation for Commitment to Community Service by Springfield College, School of Human Services in Wilmington, Delaware, the 2014 Community Impact Awards Behind the Scene by Nuestras Raíces, Delaware, during the Hispanic Festival in Wilmington, Delaware, and the 2014 DCRAC Board of Directors Award. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington that this council is pleased to commend Oyen, Delaware for its non-wavering commitment and the dedication to excellence they provide our community. I see that we have Jose Somalo on the line and Virginia.
Yes.
And Jose, you have up to 3 minutes to make some comments.
Okay, Maria, I'd like to thank you. Thank you, the recognition. It's been, as you mentioned, 25 years of serving the community all over the state. But recently, we have established ourselves a much deeper footprint into the city of Wilmington. We have purchased a property and we are committed to continue our newspaper work into the entire state, but also with a stronger focus into the Wilmington area. So we are also participants into the Hispanic community, but the entire community, and we would like to continue with that and with that endeavor of serving the entire community. We believe as our community, some of them, like people from Puerto Rico, have been here for several generations already, but some of us are on the first generation. But we really believe that by serving our community and by being good members of good elements of our community, we are going to be serving the entire community as a whole. And we appreciate this recognition.
You are most welcome.
Yeah.
Just want to remind all council members to please keep your mics on mute.
Is there anyone else that would like to make comments?
Yeah, man.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'd just like to say congratulations and keep up the good work.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you. I would also like to say congratulations. And right now, with the 6th district is pretty much the fastest growing Latino population within the city. I look forward to being able to have access to that communication.
See any other members also want to congratulate you. Jose, where is your building in Wilmington?
We are located on North Washington Street and almost at the corner with 9th Street.
Okay.
So in the downtown area.
Okay. All right. Well, bienvenidos.
Okay, gracias.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Cabrera.
Thank you, Jose and Virginia, and congratulations again. And we do have another recognition. And again, we were just trying to recognize members in our community during Hispanic Heritage Month, just ended, but you know, as Latinos, we just celebrate a little longer than most. So at this point, I would like to recognize Michelangelo Rodriguez, who is a good friend, and I first met him as he started producing these local movies here in Wilmington. I even auditioned for one of them. I didn't make it, but I love that he has brought his talent, his culture, and many books that he has written to the big screen. And most recently, he had a movie that aired on HBO Max. So we are recognizing him and congratulating him for his literary accomplishments. Whereas it is the sense of City Council to honor individuals and organizations who have demonstrated outstanding achievement and are deserving of recognition and acknowledgement, the City of Wilmington, in honor of Hispanic Month, is proud to recognize one of its own. And whereas Councilmember Maria Cabrera is proud to recognize Michelangelo Rodriguez, who is one such individual, a trailblazer of the Hispanic community, but foremost a Vietnam veteran. Michelangelo is a native New Yorker and has lived in Delaware for the last 23 years. He is a graduate of Ohio State University with a bachelor's degree in writing and went on to receive his master's in creative writing from Windsor University, Canada. He also studied acting at the Delaware Theater Company. And whereas a dedicated writer, producer, and community activist, Michelangelo is also CEO of Avocado Media, LLC, a startup media company that has produced 3 films, the latest being Delaware Shore, the movie, based on his fictional book, which some scenes were filmed in Wilmington. In addition, he wrote and produced a short comedy film titled Wilmingtonians. He enjoys writing in multiple genres, which include his political thriller novel, Waiting for the Garden of Eden. And whereas a man of deep faith, Michelangelo is a faithful member of Grace Church in Wilmington. His philosophy is, if you see the glass half empty, I see it half full. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington that this council is pleased to commend Michelangelo Rodriguez for the outstanding commitment and the dedication he has shown to his artistic craft and to the citizens of the state of Delaware. A job well done. At this point, Michael, you can say a few words. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hello, I'm Michelangelo Rodriguez. I'm honored to be here tonight with City Council and always joyous to be part of the Wilmington community. As a movie producer, educator, and writer, I find the city intriguing, supremely interesting, and a joy when I go to my Grace Church on Washington Street. Why, this past weekend, we distributed food packs to the community. I actually filmed here my first feature-length comedy, The Wilmingtonians, about a Texas couple moving to the city. I was intent on casting, as she said, Councilwoman Maria Cabrera, but I was outvoted. We went on to finish the movie and it premiered at the Delaware Art Museum to a packed house, and it is now free on YouTube. I got into movie production and script writing after working at National Geographic Learning for 17 years. Prior to that, I studied at the Ohio State University and the University of Windsor. As a Latino Vietnam veteran, I'm also proud to serve the city of Wilmington to promote it for its historical features like Hagley, Winter Tour, the Underground Railroad. My second big feature is a movie.
You cut off, Michael. Michael, we can't hear you on the mute button, or did we get disconnected?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
You got me?
Yes, we have you.
Okay.
Go back to your most recent, you said you were about to announce what you just recently
What's
did.
that?
Well, you left off at what you most recently did.
My second big feature movie is called Delaware Shore. Filmed partly in Wilmington and now streaming on Amazon Prime. I'd like to thank also the local cast and crew, many from Wilmington. So once again, with this resolution, I know it will inspire me to continue my writing. As a matter of fact, I am currently writing a book about the Wilmington DuPonts. So you see, Wilmington is a superb spot to create a film because of its history, complexity, diverse communities, and architectural beauty. Thank you so much from the bottom of my 75-year-old heart for this resolution.
You're most welcomed, and we thank you for coming into our city and recognizing all the contributions that Wilmington has amidst the challenges that we also faced. If there's any council members that would like to make comments.
Thank you.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you very much. I think it's Mr. Rodriguez. I am a Prime member, and I look forward to taking a peek at Delaware Shore.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I am corrected, it was on Amazon Prime, not on HBO Max, but I know that that's the next step. So thank you again for joining us this evening. And
You're welcome.
congratulations again.
All righty.
Thank you.
So honored.
All right, at this time, I would like to thank and to recognize and congratulate a lady who needs no introduction, especially to those of us who are city council members, who are in any way involved with the city of Wilmington and the happenings here. Ashley Christopher, Esquire. Whereas it is the sense of this legislative body that those who have enhanced quality of life in our community and have sustained commitment to the future of our youth deserve the recognition and appreciation of this body, the city of Wilmington, and the state of Delaware. Whereas Ashley Christopher Esquire is one such person, executive officer and founder of HBCU, both Howard University for undergraduate school and the University of District of Columbia. Such an eye-opening experience in seeing firsthand the benefits of attending an HBCU, she wanted to find a way to expose the youth in our communities to the many different HBCUs and help to get them there. Whereas Ashley founded HBCU Week in 2017 under the leadership of Mayor Mike Przicki, the mission of HBCU Week is to encourage high school age youth to enroll in an HBCU, provide scholarship dollars for matriculation, and sustain a pipeline for employment from undergraduate school to corporate America. The most impactful event during HBCU Week is the HBCU College Fair. This fair allows colleges to offer on-the-spot acceptance to their institutions based on the students' academic standing and their required ACT, SAT score. With over $10 million in scholarships offered during the 2021 College Fair, 528 on-the-spot acceptances, 226 partial scholarships offered, and 224 full scholarships awarded. This year has been one to remember. And whereas Ashley works tirelessly to bring HBCU Week to Wilmington each year, her time, dedication, and commitment to the young people in our city has earned her a featured spot in the September issue of Essence magazine. Her understanding of raising a child, her son Ryan, and being able to provide children with the best opportunities drives her passion and keeps her pushing to make each HBCU Week better than the last. The goal is to provide a dynamic and engaging array of events and the provision of information and resources, which have introduced to some and further encouraged to others to invest themselves through the unique offerings of our country's very own special historically black colleges and universities. The city of Wilmington will surely benefit from your work and ripple effects for many years to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington that this council is pleased to celebrate the work, the passion, and the success of HBCU Week and its CEO and founder, Ashley Christopher Esquire. We wish you the best as you continue to reach back to share the knowledge that our youth can do anything coming from an HBCU. Ashley, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
All right.
Trippy. I appreciate this distinct honor. So I have to thank you and all the members of City Council for this. It's a very special award. It means a lot to me. So thank you for the distinct honor and for acknowledging me this evening. I do have to say that I'm very excited about HBCU Week. It is something that has taken off beyond my wildest dreams. We started in 2017 and have made such an incredible impact here in the city of Wilmington in the past 5 years. And I have a commitment that for the foreseeable future, at least the next several years, we will continue to have HBCU Week here in Wilmington, Delaware. But I also have to share something very exciting with you. Starting next year, HBCU Week will consist of a multi-city tour. And we just formed a partnership with Disney. So we'll not only have HBCU Week in Wilmington, Delaware, but we're also going to Disney World. And with that said, because Wilmington means so much to me, I'm going to work directly with the mayor and the president of City Council. He doesn't know this yet, but we're going to work directly to make sure that we can accommodate a good amount of families to get to Walt Disney World for free. So I'm going to be asking Trippy to be in direct contact with all of our council members to select a family from their districts who's deserving, who would enjoy this trip. It's a very exciting time. HBCU Week is growing, but Wilmington is its home. So we have to acknowledge that this is where it started. We'll continue to celebrate here, even though we will make our way around the country. And I have to acknowledge Mayor Mike Przicki for acknowledging and seeing and supporting the vision from day one. When I came to him with this idea, he was equally as excited about it. And as you can tell, we've worked together in building this out over the last several years. So thank you again for this distinct honor. And you will be hearing and seeing from me again soon so we can get started on getting those families selected. We haven't made this a public announcement. I guess this is the first public announcement. Disney has made an announcement internally So they're already getting things scheduled. If you do schedule things far in advance, it's going to be a 3-day festival style HBCU week at Walt Disney World, October the 7th through the 9th in 2022. So we have some exciting things to look forward to next year. Thanks again for the distinct honor, and looking forward to continuing my work with you all.
Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to compliment Ashley on a job phenomenally done. Your level of organization, having your pulse on what is needed to bring people out. I think everyone enjoyed all the activities, and I understand there's a purpose for scholarships, and I'm just talking about the extracurricular activities. I think you really got the city out, and we all enjoyed it, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Johnson.
Ashley, I think I can't say it any better than my colleagues. Again, kudos for what you've done. And as a fellow member of the bar, a fellow barrister, I'm so proud and amazed by your work. As someone who's known you since you had just graduated law school and kind of worked your way up, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad we can claim you first, before you become a big star. And again, I really can't wait to see what the future holds for HBCU Week. I think giving you the recognition, you and your crew, for bringing this to the national conscious. I think at the right place, right time, and I'm really glad to see this. And I know all my colleagues appreciate the work you do. And again, you represent the legal profession really, really well. And thank you for doing what you do. Again,
thank you.
Congrats.
Appreciate it.
Councilwoman Cabrera.
Ashley, I can only say that as a former events coordinator, I can truly appreciate your toil and your labor, because it really is all about the details, and many people will never see what happens behind the scenes to have outstanding events. And I was fortunate to participate in a few of them, and your labor and coordination and bringing a team, because it does take a team together, really showed itself, and it was flawless. So I will tell you that having been my first time attending one of your productions, I was definitely very, very proud, and I kept asking, who is this Ashley? I need to meet her, and we did, introduce myself to you that night. But yeah, very amazing. So please count on our support for future activities, and again, recognizing the importance of our HBCUs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Darby.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say congratulations. Thank you for the work you're doing. And as someone who grew up here in Wilmington, I wish I had something like this in high school to look forward to and be exposed to. And like the impact you're making on our children, on Wilmington, can't even be quantified or like even truly put into words on the impact that you're having. And I just want to say Wilmington needed this. Like we needed something like HBCU Week. We needed you, and thank you again, and congratulations, and hope you guys have fun at Disney World. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to repeat everything everyone said, Ashley, but congratulations. I just remember you and Earl working your butts off in the mayor's office to get this kicked off, so I would be remiss without mentioning his name, but I know he went on to future endeavors, and you can keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll also just echo a lot of the comments that have already been made, but I also just wanted to say that my students at Great Oaks are extremely excited about their scholarships that they received from the HBCU Week. So for them and all the families that have been received scholarships for their kids that really need it, this means a lot to them, and it means a lot to us as a city. So I thank you again for all the work that you continue to do, Essence on up, and Disney on up, right? So all these other activities are coming. So I know there's great things to come more for you and for the work of what HBCU we can turn into. And it's already phenomenal, and I'm sure it'll continue to be tremendous wherever it goes. So thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes. First of all, I want to say congratulations to you, Ashley. Ditto, 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 as it relates to everything that everyone else has already have shared. What I want to say is I appreciate, number one, your leadership. Clearly, it's very obvious that it is a person at the helm of everything that took place during HBCU week that really, really understood leadership, understood teamwork, understood excellence. And the other part that really stood out to me, Ashley, which I appreciate and a lot of other people appreciated, is that your events were multi-generational. So not only did you focus on the scholarships, the educational piece, because being a college grad, we know that education is opens us up to opportunity and access. So that's first and foremost, which is great and wonderful. But just the mere fact that you thought through how to make it enjoyable for everyone. And like I said, making it multi-generational. And the Battle of the Bands, I'm just saying, just seeing families, alumni from all the different colleges and schools and family, friends, coming together. I mean, it was just really, 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 really amazing. So, like I said, I don't want to, repeat what has already been said, but the leadership, the teamwork, being part excellent and multi-generational, that is totally amazing. So thank you for everything. And I'm just looking forward to it, going higher. And if there's anything that we can do to help support it in any way, let us know. And I had to say something because most of your events were done in the 4th district. Yay. And so thank you. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. I appreciate the support.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you. Ashley, I wanted to actually add something that no one else probably know about, but one of your first events actually happened within my district, and it actually happened at Nativity Prep. You brought information to middle school kids who probably weren't even looking forward to college yet. The mayor came out, his brother, who I did not know, was a football coach, I believe. Maybe I think he was a football coach at Del State, I believe. Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, this was information that no one probably knew about. It was maybe hush for me, but I was very impressed. Not only was I impressed by the activities that surrounded that, but also gave me a place to send my son a few years down the line. So he's attending there. So I thank you that it's not just activities, but it's information that the city really needed to know about. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
All right, again, Ashley, just thank you and thank you for everything that you have done, everything that you're going to continue to do. Looking forward to being able to help you to grow HBCU week. I'm not sure. I guess the sky's the limit for you. I mean, you got Essence and Disney in the same year. So, I mean, where do you go from here?
Thank you, Council President. I appreciate it.
Job well done to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that does conclude our presentations for the evening. At this time, we're going to go to public comment. For those who are with us virtually, please, just a friendly reminder that there is a Google form sign-up link in the chat for anyone who would like to speak. The time limit is 3 minutes. When you get close to about 30 to 45 seconds to go, I will give you a friendly reminder. And please do not direct your comments to any council members, but please direct all comments to me. We do have 4 people who have signed up who are in council chambers. Again, I want to thank those of you who are here with us and encourage you to continue to engage with us. First, we have a gentleman who is no stranger to council chambers. He's probably been in here more than most council members have been in here. So welcome back, Deacon Earl Tate. And please watch your step.
Good evening. My name is Earl E. Tate, who is never late because he don't want to lose his pair of roller skates. and I'm here to speak on 3 topics. First topic is the lighting situation at night. As I stepped at my door last night, looking at the street light. A light went off for a little while, and then it came back on. But not only that light, but the lights on 23rd Street down there where where many of the senior citizens live. It's dark. It's dark. No lights down there at all at night, and this makes them very scared, very afraid to come out at night. But I would like to have someone to check in on that 23rd Street, down there by Thatcher Street, the 200 block, and also about the fireworks. The fireworks is beautiful, but somehow, some way, it's got a little bit too close to the area that we live in, and the fires, the flames going up on the people's roof. So like we would like to have it pushed back a little bit, and like to have the time limited so it won't be going on all night long. The third one is we, the members of the city, we need some speed bumps. If the speed bumps is good for the suburbs area, the speed bumps are good for the city, especially down 25th Street from Lamont, Carter, Jessup, Pine. That's just one of the areas, but if you can put some temporary speed bumps out there, because we have people coming through driving like a bat out of hell, and not paying attention to the road signs, the stop signs, no, nothing like that. We need someone to put the speed bumps out there, so that the people will slow down, not coming through there like they're in a hurry to get to their grave, and that's what I like to say. All right.
All right, thank you, Deacon Tate. Watch your step, please.
And I want to say congratulations. I'm glad to be back.
Good to have you back. Next, we have someone else who is no stranger to council chambers, Mr. D. Marquis Hall. Welcome back.
I had to write some things down. Good evening. I'm here mainly because of September 2nd and the flooding, northeast Wilmington. The state of Delaware should be declared a disaster area by FEMA and the federal government. And there's no reason that it's not, besides folks not making the noise that needs to be made for the people. The only one reason I can think of that it wouldn't be declared a disaster area or a disaster state is that nobody died. No one died, thank God. But it's tremendous suffering, and still people are going through it. People are still displaced. Some folks still don't have power. One woman that I've been texting with the whole time that I'm here tonight had 2 ear infections. And when I went out there on the Sunday after it happened, I didn't know what I needed to say to everyone. I didn't know what I needed to give. You know, I don't have a whole lot of money, but I have legs and a body that works, and I have some voice. So when I went out there, I made sure I let everybody know that they needed to go to the hospital because that water and everything that was in it, and the fact that it was 6 feet high in some people's houses, people had to be rafted out, including her. I knew that because that water went into her orifices, her mouth, her ears, her nose. she needed to go to the hospital. Her being a nurse who just had knee surgery, who knew that this was important, that she needed to get checked out, and me telling her, reinforcing to her that she needed to go, made her go. She had 2 ear infections in both ears. The infection came back, even though they gave her what it was that she needed to get the help that she needed. The ear drops, she took them, but she's still suffering, and her hearing's still not the same. And just because no one died doesn't mean that no one suffered. If she didn't go to the hospital when she did, the damage could have been a lot worse. She could have some kind of brain problem, something that is forever, like this ear infection seems to be still. And the people need help, financial help. Some folks need a lot of repair, a lot done. $34,000 is not enough for some people, but that's the only way that they can get what they need if we actually are declared a disaster area. And I did get a message from another family from the 3rd District that on September 13th, Reverend Al Sharpton and some other folks are coming to our library, Wilmington Library, to talk about the injustice that has taken place in our state. And it's not necessarily about the flood. It is about police brutality. It is about violence that happened in Riverside back in January. Lamont Moses was murdered by Newcastle County Police. And Reverend Al Sharpton and his Action Network is coming on September 13th. And I was told to let you guys know. There's a lot that we need to do to keep up the good fight. And the most important thing that we can do for each other is to just be there. Thank you for being there.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Jennifer Serwa. Thank you for joining us, and please watch your step. I'm just stepping out. Thank you.
I'm going to put the timer on my, because I can't see your clock up there.
All right.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Sirois. I am asking multiple questions this evening of you, Mr. Mayor, and the council. The city of Wilmington put out requests for bids on multiple properties in West Center City with a deadline of April 16th. I submitted a bid. It required extensive financial information be presented, and I did so. The next item that occurred was July 2nd when Mr. Tom Ford emailed me and said, at this time, the city is electing to pursue other options for the development of West Center City properties. The city is of the opinion that utilizing a single contractor to renovate all properties listed in the RFP will have greater impact within the neighborhood and better serve the community. This is not acceptable. And I called into your council in either September or August, and I asked several questions. And Mr. Tom Ogden then called. He and I spoke about 3 weeks ago, and he asked me to put everything in an email, which I did. I never heard back from him until a few days ago, despite about 7 different outreach via text, phone, and email. And my questions are, and they're no longer for whoever Mr. Ogden is, they're for Mr. Mayor, and it's for the council. My questions are, the particular ordinance that governed the RFP, which is in my email, I'm not going to go through it, but I've read it, and it states in there very clearly that bids have to be accepted or rejected by city council. So when did you do that? And or when did the housing department decide for the city of Wilmington that a single developer would be better suited to this project? The RFP itself indicated there would be an awful lot of support, financial support, jumpstart, etc. Really, it seemed as if to encourage home ownership amongst those who probably haven't had access to it. I don't see that a single developer furthers that goal. What were the elements of my bid that disqualified me? Why was I told by Mr. Ford, after the city of Wilmington reviewed my bid, it then went on to HUD? There was no place in that RFP that said my financial information would go to HUD, or I would have never submitted it. I served 30 years in the military. I had my jacket stolen out of DOD in 2016. So I'm very keenly aware to keep my information private. So I asked in my email, what's the chain of custody of my financial information scattering itself through Wilmington and HUD? I want the answer to that. And I want to know, why did you, the city of Wilmington, develop a process for home ownership for people that couldn't really afford it, only to decide that that really isn't what you want to do? You want to have a single developer. I have never had these questions answered. Mr. Ogden, whatever position he holds, called and left a message on my machine the other day I couldn't pick up. I wish I could have. But he simply said, as to that property you were interested in, which is 517 West 7th, that property's not for sale. I didn't ask him any of those questions. I asked him everything that I just reported to you, the city council. So whichever council member is in authority over the housing department, I would like that council member to get back to me with the answers to my questions, or else you yourself, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarity, the mayor is not with us this evening. I'm the president of city council, but he's not with us. But thank you for your information. And we do have your contact information. We do have your contact information, and we will, our staff will follow up with you within the next 3 days. Okay, thank you. And our final speaker is Quanetta Wharton. Okay, all right, well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. All right. Again, I want to thank everybody who is with us in the chambers, and we do have a speaker, someone from the public who is on virtually, Mrs. Miller, Cheyenne Miller. Okay. I was informed that Mrs. Miller isn't with us virtually anymore. Again, we want to thank everyone who has come and everyone who spoke publicly. At this time, we're going to move to legislative business. Councilmember Gray.
Nothing this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 21050, Agenda 0099, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to require that incarcerated individuals in the state of Delaware or federal correctional facilities who were city residents before incarceration be counted at their respective last known city addresses for redistricting purposes.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to require that incarcerated individuals in the state of Delaware or federal correctional facilities who were city residents before incarceration be counted at their respective last known city addresses for redistricting purposes.
Mr. President, I move that be known as...
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Intergovernmental Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and referred to the Intergovernmental Committee. Any other legislation, Councilwoman?
No, that's it for tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a final reading of ordinance.
Ordinance 21048, Agenda 0097, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the City Code to eliminate 1, licensing requirements for stationary engineers and firemen, 2, attendant and inspection requirements for power boilers, fire pressure vessels, and installations using nuclear fuel, and 3, the Board of Examining Engineers. Third reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move this be known as an enacting clause of the ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea, nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President. This ordinance of Chapter 4 of the City Code to eliminate the license is, there is no longer anyone to handle license for brewers. Two people retired, two people passed away, one guy retired. DNREC handles all the licenses. So we were getting calls, the city was getting calls from Sussex County, Dover, and long story short, when they call here, we're just sending them over to DNREC. So they're saying this might, I think it's about $8,000 in our budget that we could save because there's no one here to do the licensing. So with that being said,
Okay, Councilwoman Gray, did you have your hand raised?
Thank you. There was a really robust conversation in the committee meeting about this ordinance, and I have several concerns about it. My first concern is the safety of the community. The second concern is that the council, if we vote to pass this ordinance, is doing away with the only state entity that licenses boiler operators. We were the only ones that did it. And it was even said in the committee meeting that the possibility was that we had more boilers, steam boilers in other parts of the state. But it's a safety concern. Thanks to the deputy commissioner, he sent me all the information and many, many pages from the state about boilers. And the difference is that we have 774 boilers in the city. 126 of them are pressurized steam boilers. To show you the difference, it's like a steam boiler is like boiling water, and a pressurized boiler is like having a pressure cooker. And I think most people know that pressure cookers require special treatment. You just don't use it like a pot of boiling water. So that's what steam pressurized boilers are. And we have 126 of them throughout the city. Some are near schools, some are near churches, some are near office buildings. And these are dangerous machines. Just like a pressure cooker with inadequate handling, it can explode, it can cause fires. So my concern is safety. I read all the state information, and the state does do licensing of the boilers. They do no licensing of the operators. And that's what we were supposed to do based on a committee of examining engineers. And it is true that that committee is defunct, but it's defunct because council hasn't replaced people. And there is an ordinance, well, not an ordinance, there's section 4-241 states that the council hereby creates and establishes a board of examining engineers. And it states that when there's a vacancy, we can hire someone. And even if we can't find anyone, which is one of the reasons I was given in the city, we can go outside the city. For up to 2 years, we can hire someone outside the city to do this. So my real concern is these pressurized boilers throughout the city. And we're trying not to have anyone to license the operators. Licensing the boilers is one thing, and that's what the state does. I read through all the state information they sent me, but no one is licensing the operators of these pressurized steam boilers. So my concern is that we're trying to do away with the only entity in the state that will license people to handle these, to operate these dangerous machines. So I have a big concern about supporting this legislation unless someone can assure me that the 126 pressurized boilers out there have licensed operators, or the other option is that they're automated. And I didn't get any information that we know anything about those. So that's my concern. It's for the safety of the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Gray. Councilwoman Walsh. Councilwoman Walsh, I believe you might be on mute.
Yeah, am I okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Gray, I believe, said during her what she was just explained to us with all the research that she did on this, that DNREC doesn't license people.
I can answer that.
Ca-
They
yes,
license
Councilwoman Gray.
they license inspectors. They do not license any operators of any of those machines that we have in this ordinance. Only the inspection at the installation of the steam boilers.
So wouldn't somebody who would have, Mr. President,
Yes,
follow up?
Councilwoman Walsh.
So wouldn't anybody who had to inspect this sort of stuff, wouldn't they have to be able to pass the test to run the stuff, to get a license to run it?
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilwoman Gray.
in all the pages that I read from the state, inspecting them and operating them are two different things. An inspector just comes in and inspects the machine at installation or any other time if the inspection runs out, but they are not the person that is with the machine to operate it. They're two separate entities totally. And we were the only licensing entity in the state for operators of these type of machines.
Thank you,
Okay,
Councilwoman
thank
Gray.
you for all of the information that you got up together too. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson.
And this may be for the sponsor. Again, this is sort of a new area for me. I know about pressure valves and boilers, but more or less, how prevalent are these boilers even in the city? Typically, they're on the large industrial sites. So are we, really talking about not that significant of an impact? And I understand my Councilmember Gray's points, but for me, is looking at the fact that we have to fill a need, and that also creates a safety issue if we have a council that exists, it's not operating, and we don't have anybody to fill those vacancies. So that is, I think, the concern that I look at is that maybe we could work on amending later, but we need to fill these positions now so that we can get folks there, at least to make sure that the inspections are getting done.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. President. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so when we had the committee meeting, we asked Mr. Vincent Carochia if we could have a follow-up meeting. So he has sent out some information because I had concerns in terms of it being a gap by the city not taking on this particular task. So my question to him was, by us no longer confirming or ensuring that these operators were licensed, okay, was there any risk? Was the city taking on any risk? And he basically had responded stating that after reading the state regulations and the city code, that the license requirements that were put in place were for boilers that did not have automatic controls. Okay, so these individuals were needed if the boilers did not have automatic controls, but these particular ones that we're talking about has these automatic controls. So therefore, the inspectors did not have to be licensed. So that was the big thing that I got out of the whole conversation, was that they had to be licensed. So if they have automatic controls, this seems like to me, based on the communication that I read, that these us confirming these operators, we should not be at risk. So that was my main concern. I had some dialogue back and forth, and Mr. Carochia said that he didn't believe that the city is taking on any additional risk by eliminating the program from the city code. So that's the only reason why I'll be able to support it, because I did ask the questions I thought were the important questions. If there was a risk, and and it's in black and white that he said that he did not believe the city was taking on any additional risk. So I just wanted to share that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Before we go back to the sponsor, Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. I just wanted to clear something up. Councilman Johnson had said there weren't a lot in the city. There's 774 steam boilers. This is information I was given by Mr. Caruccia. And of those, since I went through them, 126 are pressurized steam boilers, which are the ones are of concern. And I would have to disagree that we don't have any liability. If one of those pressurized steam boilers exploded and took the building with it or the next door building, I really think if we didn't have a licensed operator, and people keep confusing the term operator and inspector. An inspector is different than a person that's there to operate. Everything I read from the state deals with inspection, not being there and operating the actual boiler. And so, like I said, there's 120, I even have the addresses up. There's 126 pressurized steam boilers in the city. Then we don't know if they are automated or not. Yes, if they're automated, they do not need an operator, but there's no indication of whether those 126 are automated. So I think there's a liability. I don't care what anyone says. That's just my opinion. And I think we would have another liability since it's on our books that we are supposed to have examining engineers to license people, operators from the state. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gray. Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I do apologize. I did not get a chance to take a further look at this committee meeting. My only question, I think Councilman Gray may have touched on it, and it was just basically what was the amount of automated to manual boilers? Because if there were basically, maybe, we didn't have as many manual boilers or whatever, I can understand that. But if we still have, if we still have mostly manual of these pressurized boilers, then I do see that just because something is legal doesn't quite make it right. So I just want to make certain that I state that.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy. Councilwoman Harley.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I don't know who could answer this question, but what will be the purpose of a commission or a committee? Like, what is their task? What is their task to do?
Okay, we'll allow our sponsor to address that and all other follow-up when she speaks last.
Okay, because I'm just trying to understand. In this conversation, it was mentioned that City Council has the task of establishing a commission or a committee, and I'm just trying to understand, like, would that make a difference? I mean, what do they have to do with the inspectors, and what's the connection? I'm not sure what the connection is, and I apologize.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, so Councilmember Gray got the amount of boilers that are in this, but there wasn't given the amount of which ones were automatic and which ones were not and needed. The city doesn't own any of these boilers from the conversation that I've listened to this evening. So, but does this mean that also corporations that old boilers and don't have somebody there as a job, that's where they're assigned, that now these companies will have to hire people to do this without knowledge other than us passing this legislation?
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Walsh. I'm going to allow Councilwoman Oliver, the sponsor, to address some of the concerns and questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'm a union person, so I think some council members are getting this confused. So I would never be trying to eliminate a job that goes to a union. As a matter of fact, I've reached out to two unions, longshoremen and Local 199, to make sure if there were any brewers, certified brewers that were interested in this. Just nobody would be losing out on anything. DEMREC will be taking over the license. So if someone called today or tomorrow from Sussex County and Georgetown, because that's where their call would take over, certifying their license. So it wouldn't be like no one would be able to get their license. But because of the conversation, I haven't had a chance, no one from the Brewers certifications or longshoremen and any individuals who do have certifications to do this job haven't had a chance to call me back because it's on the agenda. So other committee, $1,000 that we could use probably definitely for something else. But that is why we have the committee meetings and send the questions to Vince. You said he sent, Councilwoman said he sent her some questions. If it was some other questions to say, well, look, give me, she could even send it to me, say, look, Councilwoman, can you give me another week to wait to see if it's somebody interested, to see if they wanted to being stopped from being licensed because DNRAC does it and hold this legislation. It's fine if you don't mind, Mr. President.
Okay, so you're going to hold the legislation?
Yeah, I hold it until I guess hear from the local if somebody if interested in coming out once a month during COVID to see if someone from Sussex may want to come up here. So I mean, at least we'll put it out there.
Resolution to present.
Resolution 21044, Agenda 0100, where review and approval of city-sponsored grant applications and proposals, including authorization for expedited grant applications when necessary prior to council resolution.
Move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution be received.
And this resolution authorizes the Department of Parks and Recreation's grant application to the state of Delaware, Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control for funds allocated for an outdoor recreation parks and trails grant program and $150,000. These funds are going to be used for improvements to the Christina Park Pier. Match of 1/3 of the grant amount is going to be required. And I want to just say that I'm very excited about this legislation because it's getting us closer to Christina Park Pier, getting us closer to it being renovated and beautified for Christiana Park. And what we found out was that the pier in Christiana Park, it needed to be repaired and renovated. The repairs were done, and I really appreciate the Parks and Recreation Department for doing the repair. Felt as though the park needed to be renovated. So this goes back to 2018. And so I'm really excited about it because this is a park where a lot of East Side Wilmingtonians, from around the city, they love this park. It's a charming park. And I really know where Christina Park is. It's located between the East Side and South Bridge. It's right at the foot of South Bridge as you're going over the bridge on 4th Street. So again, I'm excited about this piece of legislation because it's definitely getting us closer to this park and pier, the pier, specifically the pier being renovated where people love to fish. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
Yes, and this is for the sponsor. I understand that there is a matching fund of matching grants for about $50,000 to $58,000, and this is specifically for you, sponsor, Councilmember Harley. Do we know where that money is going to come from yet? I know we're getting ready to start budget again, but are you going to be able to get it from this year's fiscal year budget, or are we going to be looking at next year?
Oh, so thank you. Yes, Councilmember Johnson, that's a good point. The other part been budgeted for this purpose. So like I said, we started back in 2018. We had the bill to be approved and et cetera, et cetera. So to answer your question, the money has already been budgeted to match this other $150,000.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say I'm glad to see this. This is a beautiful park that is really underutilized and canvas for the city. So seeing attention paid to it, because it's just a terrific park, it really and truly is. So I'm very pleased to see attention being paid to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I should have said earlier, and I also want to thank Councilmember Walsh for her comments because again, it is a beautiful park. It's one of the most charming parks that we have in our city. Going to really allow the residents that utilize that park to really feel as though that they matter and that the city
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Spadola,
Yes.
Councilwoman President Congo.
Yes.
11 present and 2 absent.
Declared adopted.
That's all I have, Mr. President. May I be excused?
Yes, you may be excused. Thank you.
Thanks. Carrie.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember McCoy.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes. Yes, Mr. President. I have an ordinance to present and call for first and second reading.
Ordinance 21051, Agenda 0101. An ordinance constituting Amendment Number 1 to the fiscal year 20, ordinance to amend Substitute Number 1 to Ordinance Number 21019.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance constituting
I move that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
And I have no further items tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Field.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 21049, Agenda 0098, an ordinance to amend Chapter 37 of the City Code to ensure privately owned official traffic control devices are removed within a reasonable time after the completion of a construction project. Third reading.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the enacting clause and call for the yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting. Councilmember Field.
This is a very simple ordinance that attempts to provide a quality of life victory for citizens. There's a recurring problem where outside contractors doing work on city streets occasion up for extended period of times long after the work is done, causing a nuisance for city residents. And what this ordinance does is very simple. It says that within 3 days of the completion of work that is blocking the streets, within 3 days from the end, they must remove their equipment. And if they do not, Public Works can confiscate the equipment. That's what that is simple.
They just seem to leave the cones there.
And parking is very limited in the city of Wilmington, and it is unsightly. So good legislation, and I plan to support it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh.
I just have a short question for the sponsor, and that is, why in the headliner for the legislation, why wasn't it put control devices are removed within 3 days of the completion of using a reasonable amount of time?
Councilmember Field.
It's a good question. It's the first time I've noticed that, but I would say that the legislation, even though the title is somewhat vague, the fine print spells out exactly what can happen.
Thank you. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I appreciate for the sponsor is what is the actual implementation of this ordinance? Because it's good for us to change our code, but in practice, we need to make sure there's enforcement. So will it go on the Public Works website, be like a flyer or email sent to contractors? Is there a plan yet for actually how we get folks to adhere to this rule?
Councilmember Field.
The people doing the work, repairing streets, and it could be done by an email or phone to them by way of Public Works.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yeah, along that same vein, I guess now that we think, so yes, it is good on the books, but always the enforcement becomes the challenge. So maybe trying to figure out how that would be streamlined. Some contractors have, the permits, they ask for extensions, but maybe they think that because they have the permit to a certain date that they can leave the equipment there, even though they're done the construction. So maybe that's just something that we need to further investigate with Public Works. Great piece of legislation, but that is a very good question. How are we going to enforce it and know when they're done doing the job?
Thank you. Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. At the committee meeting, Commissioner Will out that they do go around and pick up the cones. And as a courtesy, in the past, she's called the construction companies and told them that they have the cones. But once this legislation is passed, I don't think she'll be making the courtesy call. So I don't know how they know that the cones should be removed, but she said they do go around and pick them up.
Thank you. Any other council members have any other comments before we go back to the sponsor?
That are blocking parking in the street, and the sign on the cone says for what date the restriction is for. So let's say it says September 1st to September 10th. So the work is done on September 10th. On September 13th, the cones can be, after September 13th, the cones can be removed. So, but the basic answer is that 99% of the time we're dealing with cones that are indicating no parking, and there's a sign with very clear dates. So therefore, I think that in practice, almost every single time, it's very time-wise when this can be applied.
Thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Councilwoman Hawley was asked to be excused.
okay, thank you. Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Spadola,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
10 yeas and 3 absent.
Declared adopted.
Legislation this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Dixon.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Spadola.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Walsh.
I have several resolutions, Mr. President.
Okay.
Resolution 21040.
It's been properly moved and seconded that resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea or nay vote. On the question,
Mr. President, this resolution was an application for funding from the State of Delaware Special Law Enforcement Assistance Program. The department wants to use it for 20 new bicycles, which is used by patrol officers, and upgrade some mobile forensic equipment that is used to enhance
who are virtual, have your hands raised. Do any council member or any council members who are virtual have any? Do you have any comments?
The legislation, and I wanted to talk about why. I'm for creating alternatives to policing and actually reducing funding. It is a grant. It does not come from taxpayer money. However, I do believe the solution to ending and cultivating a safer city lies in reducing the power of the police and their contact with the public. So I support initiatives that are working to the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights, so that there's more accountability and transparency, and there's police reform, and that our community getting their equipment.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, I do want to say that when we talk about relationships with the police and the community, we speak of getting them out of the cars. We speak of having them interact, having that community policing minded to be out there engaging. I know that when I see the vehicles parked on certain problem, the officers are inside, I get a little upset because I do want them to be out engaging with the community. And having additional bikes means that we could have more police officers in the community where they're visible, where they can stop and speak. And when I see them out there playing basketball with the children, or the kids come up to them to find out, the bikes and what this does and what that does, that it's a way of having our police officers further engage with our community, which is what we want. And regardless of how we feel about policing and the reforms that need to take place, because I am on board with that, at the end of the day, when there's something going wrong in our community, who do we call? We call the police. So they still need to have their equipment. They still need to have their public safety fighting tools, whatever that might be. But in this case, what I'm seeing is, people are posting about these crimes and these shootings, and what's city council doing? What's the mayor doing? What's the police doing? So we have to investigate these shootings. We have to investigate when a crime happens. So if we're not going to fund the police with the tools that they need to be able to do these investigations, we're the ones also being held accountable when these crimes go unsolved. So what this looks like is there's no matching funds. They're getting additional equipment to be able to investigate the crimes and what happens in our city, as well as having additional bicycles, which puts them face to face with the community. I'm in support of it, and in spite of everything that's going on and the reforms that need to happen, I agree with them 100%. We can't stop supporting our public safety, because then we complain when they're disgruntled and they're not doing what they need to do, but at the same time, we're not showing the support. So those are my points.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. I must say, I also support replenishing the utensils or equipment that the police need to do their job. We do need them to have the capability to do their job, but I'm all for some form of alternative policing. And the police budget is one of the largest budgets in the city. So there's lots of money there that can be used for alternative forms of policing. We just need to have time to have a discussion and have some action behind the discussion. But these grants are things that come around every year, and every year the police apply for the same grants to upgrade their equipment. And there's no cost to the city. So I have to support them to be able to do their job. But we need to soon have a conversation about some alternative forms of policing and involving the community in these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
I'm going to have further comments in regards to the police budget, but I completely agree with my colleague, Councilmember Darby, about the issues of policing. But regarding this specific issue with the bikes, I am in favor of, simply because it enhances community policing, as Councilmember Cabrera said. We had this issue probably maybe about 2 years ago with the issue with the trikes, the new trikes that the police department has. And there was some apprehension about getting the trikes. But I think, given how they've been used in the community, there's been a lot of positive public feedback about how they've been used as special events. They get the officers out in the street. The officers like the trikes. So I see this in the same vein. I don't agree with the source of money. I think SLEEF Fund is a secret fund that is based on asset forfeiture. But unfortunately, that involves this change of state law. So while the fund is there, why not tap that budget to increase community policing?
Thank you, Councilman Spadola.
Thank you. I support breaking down barriers between the police and the community, and bicycles are a great, inexpensive way to do that. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised. Yeah, it's hard to honestly, it's hard to support this legislation. I mean, it's good to have trikes and bikes, but maybe I miss them, but I don't see them in the neighborhoods outside of downtown. Not like we should. Not like we see them downtown. You don't see the trikes. You don't see the bikes. I mean, it's good to support our police officers getting new equipment and getting new technology. But like someone just mentioned, we've been doing it for years, but we're still getting the same results. I think at some point we have to take a stand and let our police department know that we are serious about reform. And at some point it's not enough just to ask for the conversation, because they obviously don't want to have that conversation. And it seems like we're helpless on city council because we can't make them. But I think this is one of those times where we can make a point, make a statement, and get their attention that we are serious about having this conversation about police reform and being more inclusive. So I cannot support this legislation. At this time, I go back to the sponsor.
I'll just ask for the roll, Mr. President.
Thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
No.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Present.
Councilman Spadola,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Yes.
President Congo.
No.
7 yeas, 1 present, 2 nays, and 3 absent.
And declared adopted. Councilmember Walsh, you may continue.
Yes, I have another resolution.
Resolution 21046, Agenda 0103, whereas pursuant to Section 2363 of the City Code, the council deem it necessary and proper to specify the requirements for review and approval of city-sponsored grant applications and proposals,
Mr.
including...
President, I move this be known as the reading of that resolution, that it be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by yea, nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea or nay vote on the question.
Mr. President, this grant comes out of the Department of Safety and Homeland Security, the State Department of Safety and Homeland Security, to fund violent crime. The application is for a grant of $419,000 and change. There are no matching funds, and it's also to be helped to be used to cover overtime costs as part of an overall violent crime reduction effort.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. This grant and another grant both have monies for overtime. And I think in committee, we had asked the police department to give us some type of grant or result, some type of graph or results as to what we're getting for all this overtime. Because it's a lot of overtime in this grant and there's a lot of overtime in another grant coming up. And although it doesn't involve city funds, what are they doing for this overtime? And I think we asked for some type of analysis so we know if we're getting results with all this overtime. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
As a point of clarity, I specifically do recall that, Councilmember Gray. There was an email sent to council on October 12th. It did not provide that graph. I don't know what the department thought they were doing, but that graph was not provided because I specifically joined you in asking for that request. I respectfully, again, asked the police department for that request. If we could spend $1 million on overtime a year, great. That's great to do it, but what are we getting for that overtime?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bottom line that we face with this police department. And I know for this specific grant, I can't support it, and I hope it does not go for a vote today. I believe it should be held until we get those answers from the chief, and then we can maybe revisit this at the next meeting.
Thank
Mr.
you.
President,
Yes, Councilwoman Walsh.
we can hold that one.
Okay, thank you.
I
You may
have
continue.
another resolution to present.
Just a moment. Resolution 21047, Agenda 0104, whereas pursuant to Section 2363 of the City Code, the council deem it necessary and proper to specify the requirements for review and approval of city-sponsored grant
Mr. President,
applications.
I move that be known as the reading of that resolution, that it be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by yea, nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that that resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea or nay vote on the question.
This is the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program for $219,891. Grant funds would be used to cover the salary for a civilian cold case investigator and overtime cost as part of overall violent crime reduction efforts. No local matching funds are required.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Along the same vein, this one is a large grant, but this is a grant I actually believe is much needed. I think during the public safety meeting, the chief did explain the use of it. I think it is well used funds. Cold cases are a huge issue in the city of Wilmington. I think we need a lot more than just an investigator to fix the structural issues, but I think hopefully if we're able to get this funding, it will be a blessing, and we can hopefully give some solace to the families that have lost loved ones, and we can't, we have no answer. So I certainly appreciate and support this grant.
Thank you. Councilmember Gray.
Thank you. Yes, this is funding for cold case, and we had asked what the results were on the cold cases that were solved, and I don't think we got that information either. But built into this is also more time for overtime for violence. And as Councilman Johnson said, we haven't gotten statistics on the reduction in violence and what we're getting for the overtime. So this is another one that has a blanket overtime. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby?
Yes, I share the same sentiments about overtime on the previous grant and this one in regards to this piece of legislation. I also want to point out that research shows that long hours worked by police officers can negatively impact officers' performance and even worsen racial bias, and we know that's a problem within our police department. And officers have to respond to late night calls, make split-second decisions, and de-escalate tense situations. So sometimes in the middle of like these long shifts, and we have cold case investigators having to make decisions on solving crimes overtime, just doesn't sit right with me. And then also to the point of how we fund our police department, what are they doing with the current money they have? How effective are they? And then also, if they get this additional funding, what impact is it really going to make on our city and on solving cases of people we have lost in our city? So I'm not in support of this legislation.
Thank you. Councilmember Dixon?
Thank you, Mr. President. I am also will be voting no for this legislation for this evening, just based on the facts of the violence reduction component, and it probably will be the same for the next resolution as well, because they seem to have a ringing theme of violence reduction efforts that they're applying for. But I also had asked the chief while we were online in regards to how do you continue to talk about crime has gone down by 20%, but we're not seeing that happening in real lifetime. So I will not be supporting this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson?
I would like to make a motion to table this resolution. Given the talk, I think there's discussion that's prudent, that needs to be fleshed out. Or hold. Motion to hold the legislation, this specific cold case.
You're asking the sponsor to hold it, Mr. President?
Yes, it's been a request of Councilman Johnson for the legislation to be held.
Fine, hold the next two.
Yes, the next two. Okay, thank you very much. And that does conclude our legislative business.
I just want to point one thing out with this legislation, the ones
Yes,
that are
ma'am.
being held, if I may, sir.
Yes, Councilman Walsh, you may proceed.
This is not the police chief or the mayor or the president of city council calling Dover and saying, hey, this is the amount of money we want for these grants. And they get an answer back within a week or so. That these grants take months to be reviewed. And yes, the money is still being spent from previous grants. But I just want people to keep in mind that, yes, I do recognize that these grants are not perfect, but also that this is not something that one gets very easily. So that's all I have to say, and thank you for holding that.
Thank you.
And that's all I have this evening.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Johnson, do you have a comment?
Since it was my motion, I just wanted to state on the record is I think the follow-up would be for the department to provide the information asked at the public safety meeting. And if that information is provided, the graphs and charts, then I think it's a different conversation.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Johnson. Before we go to petitions and communication, I want to thank Maribel for bringing to my attention that we should take a moment of silence for the memory of Colin Powell. Thank you. At this time, we will move to petitions and communications, starting with Councilmember Darby. I'm sorry, starting with Councilmember Gray. Thank you.
Thank you. Really, I don't have anything to say except I think also we should point out about our loss of Marianne Miller, our part-time receptionist, um, and keep her in our prayers. Other than that, I have nothing else, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby.
Yes, my only announcement for tonight is in regards to redistricting. I had a few people reach out to me who have proposed maps and sent to me, and I've been having conversations with a lot of community leaders and people who are in our community about redistricting and the impacts it will have on each district. So continue to send the maps to me, continue to set up meetings with me in regards to redistricting for our city. Also visit daysredistricting.com and you'll be able, if you're not familiar with it, you can draw maps and propose maps, and I'm willing to sit down with anyone to kind of talk about redistricting and maps for our city. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember McCoy.
Well, you got to me fast. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say thank you to the IAFF Local 1590, which is the firefighters union, for allowing Browntown to use their hall yesterday for us to have our first meeting pretty much in person in over a year. So I'd like to thank all those that came out and to thank them in particular that they were so gracious to let us have their hall. And, you know, for all of the things that are actually coming up for them, you know, this year, we just spent some time with them a few weeks ago, basically looking at the lives of the three that gave their lives fighting fires in my district. And then also they are celebrating their 100th anniversary. I've been seeing that everywhere and trying to make certain that I repost it. I'm like, it's going to be a grand celebration. I can't wait to see them on Saturday. So I do look forward to that. Other than that, I do also wish to also state that Ms. Marianne Miller was actually she was a great person, and I'm sad that she's gone, and her family is in my prayers.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
Again, my prayers are with Miss Marianne Miller's family, and I know she was tied heavily with the Lewis Redding Foundation and the work she did in the community in the city of Wilmington. It will be missed. And kind of looking at this weekend, I understand there's sure Council President will talk about the festivities this weekend coming up with the Wilmington Fire Department. But if you do have some time, there is the Roberto Clemente Baseball League. They're having their annual family banquet. That's it from noon to 3. It's again a time to celebrate the achievements of the youth involved in that program, and that they're giving back in the community. So please come out if you're not at the other events, and please join us there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Field.
Nothing to add tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to say that it's great to be sitting here in chambers and to welcome our first-time newly elected colleagues who are sitting here for the first time. I remember how nervous and excited I was at my first meeting, sitting here in this magnificent chamber where we make our laws and we recognize our community and conduct the business of the city. So I hope that you guys are just as excited as I was the first time I sat here, and it's great to be back. I'm sure that maybe our public safety chair might be mentioning in detail the activities this weekend, but just as a reminder that we are celebrating 100 years of our Wilmington Fire Department, and there is going to be a big parade. There's over 10 fire companies that are attending, over 20 bands. So really encouraging our community to come out and support our firefighters as we celebrate 100 years of service here in the city of Wilmington. And as mentioned, some of them have lost their lives along the way trying to keep us safe. Some have been injured. So they do make a great impact in our community. So we want to let them know that we support them, we thank them, and seeing our community out there during the festivities is one way to show that support. There's a lot going on this weekend, as if we thought September and May were the busiest weekends. October 30th on Saturday, well, this is the following weekend, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., There is a Dia de los Muertos, a Day of the Dead event at the Delaware Art Museum. It's going to be a fun-filled family event. And for those who may not know what that is, the Day of the Dead is something that is celebrated in certain Latin American countries, but it's also come from other places in Europe where there's a belief that the heavenly portals open and that the spirits are allowed to travel. So family members build an altar with the loved ones who has passed with all their favorite things. They have the flower of the dead, which is a strong scented marigolds, and the Day of the Dead bread. Bread of the dead is what they call it, and big loaves of bread. And every country has their own little spin to it. The Mexicans usually they really go all out. But here in the States, more and more people have been celebrating and learning about it. Most specifically with the movie Coco has really opened the eyes to this whole spirit realm and how the Day of the Dead works. But on that day, there will be dancers, music, wonderful cultural food. There'll be artists. So come out to the Delaware Art Museum from 11 a.m. To 4 p.m. on Saturday, October 3rd. And we hope that everyone stays safe, and condolences to those who we have lost, including some of the folks who have lost their lives in our streets with the violence. Really hoping the community will continue to work with law enforcement to please offer up any leads, any information that you have. I do feel that some of these crimes are not random, and there's people that might know what's going on. So in memory of those we have lost, including Marianne Miller and Colin Powell's, our condolences to the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to give my condolences to Miss Marianne Miller's family. I still remember coming in the office sometimes, and when she was sitting there at the front desk, she would be like, "Hey, did you read in the news today? This happened, this happened." And she was kind of like my media person when I came inside inside our office. So she will be dearly missed in her capacity. And also just wanted to give a huge shout out to the Open Streets team. They did an amazing job with our last Open Streets of the year, which was last Saturday. There hasn't been anyone who's blocked off Bangor Boulevard from 18th Street all the way to Concord Avenue for a huge event. So that was a major thing for us for doing that. We had great attendance. People even asked us if we would come back tomorrow because it started raining toward the end of it. But we said, it's not as easy to put together these grand events like what we had on a regular basis. But Open Streets will be back again next year, back in the spring. And just wanted to say our last part of Healthy Aging and Disabilities Committee meeting will be this upcoming Wednesday at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Spadola.
Thank you, Council President. Appreciate the sentiments for Ms. Miller and General Powell. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting Ms. Miller, but it sounds like what she and General Powell had in common. They were uniting figures, people that were well respected, something that I think we're missing a lot in this day and age. Hopefully we can get back to that. But looking forward to the spotlight being on Wilmington on Saturday with the parade. It's really being spoken highly of, and I hope it delivers, and I'm sure it will. So I'm sure I'll see a lot of you there.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I did want to remind everybody about the parade tomorrow for the fire department for the 100th anniversary. Maria, I don't think you said what time it was. It's at 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, it's on Saturday, not tomorrow. Saturday, October 23rd at 10 a.m. is the step off. It begins at 16th and King Streets, and the reviewing stand is going to be at Rodney Square to 4th and King Streets. This is the kind of parade that little kids like a lot, has a lot of bands playing lots of military type music, which gets kids' feet stomping and all that sort of thing. So a whole lot of music, whole lot of groups, whole lot of non-Delaware groups coming here to congratulate us for 100 years of our fire department. So if you get a chance, just come on down and check it out. I'd like to say something about Marianne Miller too. I've known Marianne for quite a while, and for those who might run into Margaret Henry, you might want to say something to her about Marianne. Senator Henry and Marianne were, they were like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid together, and they were a lot of fun. Marianne was one of the funniest people you would ever meet in your entire life. There's a woman who could have easily moved out of the city, and she took a stand. She stayed in this city. She loved this city, every part of our city, and she will be missed dearly. She was a pretty incredible woman, and many lessons learned from her by me. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder that our next redistricting committee meeting will be on Thursday, October the 28th at 5 p.m. right here in council chambers. Also a reminder that all members of the committee will be in or required to be in council chambers. Members of the public can also join us either in chambers or virtually. Just want to continue to encourage everyone to be a part of these committee meetings. Very important. If you're a college student and you are a resident of the city of Wilmington and seeking scholarships, please call us at 576-2140. Again, our number is 576-2140. Also, just want to offer the family of Miss Marianne our deepest condolences. She is a great friend of our families. I've been knowing her since I was very, very young, and she will be missed. She's already missed. So I just want to, again, offer my prayers to her family and also prayers to our Chief of Staff, Daniel Walker, for his grandfather, Mr. Alfonso Nixon, who passed away. And looking forward to the parade on Saturday. It's been said that this is going to be the biggest parade that Wilmington has ever seen. And if they can outdo the Spanish parade, I cannot wait to see it, because the Spanish parade was off the hook. So I'm just really looking forward to see if they can hold up to their word on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, this weekend is Delaware State's homecoming. Looking forward to going down and having a lot of fun down there after the parade on Saturday. Just want to remind everyone, if you do plan on going to any of the events on campus, that you do have to present your vaccination card or a negative COVID test within the last 72 hours. Shout out and thank you to Tony Allen for making homecoming happen this year and for ensuring that it's going to be safe. That's it. I think that's everything.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am. President. Yes. Councilwoman Walsh.
May I have 30 seconds before we leave?
Sure.
Okay. Something I forgot to say. I threw this out at the last public safety meeting that because these meetings are constructed very carefully, that I was more than willing to have a second public safety meeting that would be based on areas that council members would like to see addressed, and not necessarily stuff that just comes up for legislation. So Councilmember Gray has already sent one request forward to me. So it's going to be sometime at the beginning of November. We're still trying to come up with a date. So if any council members have topics that they want addressed, please forward them to me or to Daniel so that we can get this whole thing together. And no questions are going to be off limits. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. This time I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Meeting adjourned.